Hey guys, Sean Zinn, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor. This is live number 55 on the year. Last year I did 54 before Facebook shut me down. So I'm already ahead of the game. We're not even halfway through the year. We're just crushing content, making sure that you continue gaining value, are educated, you're having some growth at this time, no matter what. I know it's lunchtime, so sit back and relax and enjoy some major value, major content that you're going to utilize. And I want you to utilize, take action, implement things that we're going to share with you today. Don't just listen. It's only 20, 25 minutes, guys. I know you have the attention span to stay with us. I want you to drop any comments, drop wow, hashtag live, hashtag replay, and please don't forget to hit the share button. I want to make sure this is out in all our networks here. So bear with me 1 second before I bring on my guest. I have it public. We're dropping it into a couple of different groups. And I want you guys to make sure you have everything. Don't leave us. Stay with us for this short period of time. I know you're going to gain some major value. And it's something that I appreciate every single one of you taking some time out of your lunchtime to be with us. So let me bring on right here. What's up, Bobby Reyes? How are you?
What's up, Sean? What's going on, my man?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Awesome.
Thanks,
It's a
thanks
beautiful day in Monmouth County, New Jersey.
You're down in Monmouth. It's beautiful. I know the sun's out. It's going to be in the 70s. People are going to be heading down to the beach, I'm sure.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope they're safe this weekend because, that's all we need. We don't need another wave coming through, but
Great.
I know the weather, everyone wants to be outside. I'll try to be outside myself with my family, but I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to drop some value, man. This is going to be awesome.
Right on, right on.
So,
Pleasure
Bob,
to-
can you give us a little introduction of who you are?
Yeah. I've been studying mind stuff for over 20 years, and I've been in the exciting world of sales for longer than that. I've sold everything from multi-level marketing to Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door to medical device to real estate investing. Anyway, to make a long story short, probably the last recession, I started to appreciate that it was more important for me to be a coach and almost a psychologist, before I started to, really talk about whatever value proposition I had to offer, right? Whatever piece of equipment, whatever concept, idea, or product. So I started to dig deep into this stuff. And, one thing led to another, from Awaken the Giant Within with Robbins, to some work that I did with Marshall Silver, to even some work that I've done with Jordan Belfort. I don't know if you guys know him from the movie, Straight Line and all that. And then all that actually led me to an area in California where I spent 2 weeks, actually longer than that, 2.5 weeks, learning the art of the firewalk. And the guy that taught me that, much older gentleman, been doing it for probably 50 years. And he's the guy that's credited with teaching Robbins and some of the other guys, that have taken this thing sort of public. So I said to myself, why not go to the source? So out there for 2.5 weeks, building fires, walking on fire, building on fires, walking on fire. And it was interesting to me, some of the distinctions that came to me, not only as I was out there amongst, a group of my peers that also had an interest in expanding our minds, but also in what was actually happening to me as I was going through the actual walk. And you can probably imagine, you have to do a little bit of a gut check, before you decide that you're going to walk straight into on hot coals, with bare feet. So that's actually what my book is about. I use it as a metaphor, for not so much change, but also for what I like to call a stretch experience. I think that there's a lot to be said, for stretching our minds, going a little bit more than we think we can. And I think now more than ever with this pandemic, it's important that we support each other. It's important that we look for ways to actually succeed and not sort of live in our excuses. And I think that it's important that we have our minds right. So, so sales, would-be psychologist, no formal degree. But I have had a lot of fun, taking people, from here to there and making them realize, what a quantum leap they've made and what that means for other areas of their life, relationships, their businesses, the difference they can make in their communities. And I guess really that's what it's always been for me. It's just trying to make a difference, trying to be a shining example of possibility. And not for me. It's not an ego thing. I think to myself, man, if my walking on this fire and maybe taking a group to do this can influence just one person who maybe at that time, may have their face stuck in the dirt, right? Life has dealt him a bad hand. And if I can make that guy look up and bring up his head and, you know what, maybe there is a way. Maybe it is possible. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished.
Stretching your mind is so key for today. I mean, we have all the time in the world, and then we have a lot of excuses that people throw out there. And this is a great time to really push yourself, focus on growing, making sure that after this is all said and done and we look back, we chuckle, some people chuckle about the experience that we're going through. It's just something that you have to start planting seeds. This is time to make you get to the next level. And sitting back and sulking and dooming, glooming is not the way to go. So I appreciate you saying that, and building relationships, making sure you're putting outside, making phone calls and having Zoom calls and continuing growing your business. Even though you might not be outside, you're still able to make things happen and connect with a variety of people. Now, you've been doing a lot of coaching. I think a big thing what I've learned over the years is listening. Listening skills are huge, because a lot of people in the real estate world, they get a phone call. Oh, I saw your listing, and boom, they drop everything. They don't even question them. They don't go deep. They just show them the property, and it's like, oh, you don't like the property? Now what? Now you just wasted time. So I believe listening is huge, and I've been working on it tremendously with doing video and listening and having shows. What are some other things you think are very important to those that are out there?
Sean, I'll tell you, I could have said it better myself. There's not much I can really add to that. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is that, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and then they should be used proportionately. But the reality is, like you just said, we should be master listeners, because in listening, not only are we serving the person at the highest level, but we're also serving ourselves by, like you just pointed out, not wasting a lot of time on people or things, or the idea of connecting, this person with this product, right? Or this person with that idea. Well, how do you know what that is? Unless you're actually connecting. And there's a few things, that I coach on. One of them is called the behavioral and navigational styles. So there's 4 distinct styles: fighter, entertainer, counselor, and detective. And they all show up differently, right? And you're kind of nodding because you kind of know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
You kind of know this on an intuitive level, right? That people show up differently with a different set of lists, a different set of demands, a different set of expectations. But if you know exactly where that comes from, then you're able to meet a fighter where they are and understand that a fighter values time more than even money. And if you're talking to a detective, who on the other hand is like a Sherlock Holmes and does require a lot of information that for you might sound like minutia and detailed stuff, but hey, that's what this person requires. So to meet them at where they are and to serve them at the highest level, it would make sense for you to know that, hey, I'm talking to a detective. And if you can know that ahead of time by some of the questions that you ask and some of the body language that they kind of let you know, at this point, thankfully, more often than not, and I'm not going to say 100%, we'll say 70% of the time, I can see someone and I can sort of figure out very quickly, who they are. Are they a fighter, a counselor, an entertainer who really just wants to sort of be loved, right? So when you're talking to someone like that, you really have to make sure that you honor them by understanding that basic human need for them. So let's just say that you're a fighter and you want to just get on to the next proposition, and you haven't done, the time with the entertainer to make them feel appreciated. Oftentimes that creates a disconnect. And I think it's happened to most of us on this call here, and certainly has happened to me, where, you think that everything is going great and you're almost counting your commission dollars. And at the end of it, the whole gosh darn thing falls apart. And you're saying to yourself, oh my God, what happened? What did I miss? Chances are you missed, like you just said, the needs analysis, the fact finding, the listening portion of it. Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Is there anything else that I like video, and video gets people out of their comfort zone, and I think video opens up your mind. It opens up trying different things. Maybe you fail, and it also puts yourself out there. Going back to the get yourself out of your comfort zone. Walking on fire or walking on glass, that's the similar thing. Just you're doing it with a different substance, different object.
Yeah.
Can you go into more detail about this, the fire walk or the glass walk, and what are some preparations that people might have to endure?
Yeah. It's interesting because the idea with the firewalk is when you do it correctly, is to do it with elegance and grace. And the fire feels almost like hot sand, and that's pretty much the intensity of it when you're doing it correctly. When you're not doing it correctly, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of the stuff that has made public news, people have burnt their feet. And there are psychological reasons, why people have burnt their feet. There's actually a chart that actually can tell you, where you might need some help based on what area of your foot you actually burnt. But, the idea is that, you kind of get yourself prepared, just like with anything, right? You get yourself prepared and then you walk with intention. And it's not very different than walking on glass. When you're walking on glass, right, as you can imagine, you're not just going crunch, 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 right, and enduring, right, cutting yourself open. That's not the goal. The idea is to, again, approach slowly with elegance and with intention. And like in the sales process, or just any communication process, let's put sales aside. In our relationships, are we present? Are we paying attention? In our communities, what can we do? Not only to elevate ourselves, but to elevate others and be a shining example ourselves. I like to sort of use the analogy of being a superhero, probably because my 14-year-old loves superheroes, and I've always loved superheroes, but the idea is that we can all be heroes in our own right. We can all show up a certain way, because a superhero, one of the main tenets is that they show up knowing that they're a superhero, knowing that they can. And if they know that they can, right? And we've heard this before, but I'm going to use it anyway. Whether you know you can or you think you can't, right? You're right. I mean, someone said this to me a little while ago, and it's a little bit on the raw side, but I think your audience can take it.
Yeah.
He said to me, Bobby, what is the difference between an idiot and a genius? And I said, I don't know. What is the difference between an idiot and a genius? And he said, well, an idiot knows he's an idiot and shows up accordingly, right? Well, I'm an idiot. I can challenge and met with a challenge, right? I know I'm an idiot, and I could never figure that out. And they never figure it out. But a genius, right, like the superhero in their own mind, knows, oh, I'm a genius. I got this. And if I don't, I'll get it. And as a result, they show up with a different set of resources. It's not so much the resources that you have now more than ever, right? With us having to pivot our businesses, pivot our lives, figure out ways to connect, as it is so much about how resourceful you are with the resources that you were given. So, yeah, the idea really is just to dial in intention, grace, and know that you can. Now, of course, this takes training, and that's what we go through. But it's not, weeks of training or months of training. It's literally an hour where I can get you to a state where you have the capacity and more so the will to actually walk on fire or glass. I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did.
No, you definitely did. And, you're writing a book. I've been contemplating it. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of commitment. And I'm all about discipline and commitment and being persistent as hell to get things done. How was that process when you that popped into your head, I'm going to write a book? Did it just all of a sudden, boom, that's all you focused on? Can you explain some of the process going into writing your book?
Yeah. Oh, you touched on two things there. So the answer is that I'm a big note taker, right? I have memoirs everywhere on my phone. I have my iPhone full of voice messages that I leave myself, right? On the voice memos.
Yep.
So as I started to, one day look and see all this content that I have, I started to look at some common denominators, and then the book was born from just that. So it was sort of a bunch of memoirs, and then making them into a sort of situation where it was coherent and it flowed, and that it taught some lessons along the way. But in answer to your question, no, it wasn't just a concerted effort to do one thing. And I think that we really have to be expert time managers and expert managers at sort of managing our schedules. It continues to surprise me when I talk to people. One of the first things that they tell me, is Bobby, man, I got a business, I'm successful, but I got to tell you, I'm working ungodly hours. I'm not seeing my kids as much as I should, and my wife's a stranger to me. And this is not really what I had in mind when I thought to myself, I'm going to kind of be a business owner. Um, and when we look at the schedule, an intentional schedule, and I call it effortless execution. The idea is that we write out our schedule on a Saturday or Sunday night, and then Monday through Friday, we just execute effortlessly. And believe it or not, one of the things that people maybe sometimes don't appreciate is that there's a lot of time wasted in the thinking and the zoning out process. And it's almost like an addiction because you're thinking and you're zoning out and you're so used to doing that. But imagine if you had every hour of every day time blocked, right? And I'm talking about time blocking things like your joy and fulfillment, mind stuff, exercise, diet, time with family, along with referral partners and getting them on the phone, follow up, right? Getting the deal to the next step in the process, right? All these things. Then you're just kind of living into it. It's interesting because one of the things that always comes to mind when I start talking about this is sort of automation. And I don't know if you remember this old cartoon, but it was called the Jetsons. Remember the Jetsons?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You remember in the beginning of the Jetsons, for the younger guys, they're probably like, "Oh my God, who's this old guy talking about?" But he gets on, in essence, a conveyor belt, right? And on the conveyor belt, as he's going through the conveyor belt, they put the hat on him, the jacket on him. He grabs his drink, they pop him in his car, right? And that's sort of the idea, is sort of living into your schedule with that level of automation when there's not a lot of thought behind it, because you did all your thinking on Sunday. So I find that highly successful people don't like to do a lot of thinking because they can't afford it. They need to sort of figure out what they need to do, what the impact producing activities are going to be, dial into those, and make sure that they execute on those. And again, they anticipate. But I tell you, you can make your schedule in probably an hour or two. But I can tell you, because there's an emotional component to time management and schedule management, that it'll take you quite a while to master it. Quite a while.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, that was 100% true. And it's something I love, the execution piece. And I like to, set it and forget it. So I can just go about my week and get things done and accomplish things throughout, get my goals all down on paper. So you see them every single day before you go to bed and when you rise. I think a very important piece of the day is the morning. I try to make sure first thing I do is do a motivational quote for those that are in my community, try to get them, really for me, to get my mindset right in the morning. And then I try to help others. That's what my whole business model is about, helping as many people as possible, providing value consistently. And I know how important that is. I've been trying to used to do a workout in the morning, but I've had to re-strategize with my 16-month-old doesn't allow certain things. So I get it more in the afternoon. But I know how important it is to get the day going. What is like a non-negotiable for you?
Exercise, certainly. Even with gyms being closed, right? I'm doing the best I can, to exercise in the home, go for runs, stay active. I'm a big believer that the body leads the mind. Your physiology really does predicate your psychology. And, I always ask people this question, are you happy because you sing, or do you sing because you're happy? And the answer for me has always been, I'm happy because I sing. So when I look at that and I realize I'm happy because I'm now choosing to sing, I realize that that emotional state called happiness, just like any other emotional state, is really just a dance. So if I start doing the steps, right, commanding my physiology, my body, then I start to feel the psychology associated with that. And when you have that level of sort of intuition or awareness, it's almost, you know, not impossible, but a lot easier to get into what I like to call, you know, peak performance states, you know, at those moments when it matters, right? Before the big meeting, you know, before the uncomfortable conversation, after you've gotten 25 no's through cold calling, or after one of the biggest deals of your quarter, right, just kind of fell apart. And now you're expected to go and do a presentation and you're feeling like you just want to go into a hole and sort of whatever, right? But you kind of got to show up. So understanding that you're happy because you're sing, and if you do the dance called happiness, right? The dance called confidence, the dance called authenticity, right? You're gonna feel those things. So yeah, it's so you asked me about one of the non-negotiables, exercise. You know, because I feel for me, you know, it's always been about my physiology. You know, what I'm doing with my body, and it's no surprise. I don't think it's me. I just think that people maybe perhaps haven't thought about this. Why do you think that alcohol and drugs, right, are sort of these $1 million industries? Because people are looking for ways, unfortunately, not the most productive ways, to alter their mental state by altering their physical states, right? Our bodies are our most biggest and most powerful vessel, you know, to be able to do that. So if we know that connection, why not engage in a push-up or a sit-up or a run, knowing that the endorphins are going to come flying through and going to make us ultimately more productive?
That's so true. And yes, the problem is it's called work. People don't want to do the work. And then they're, oh, shit, it hurts the next day when they first started. That's something that you have to get over. And if you gain 15, 20, 30 pounds, it's not going to go away like this. It's going to take some time. You're going to sweat equity is going to happen. And it's not just taking a pill or drown yourself with some alcohol, do some drugs. It's a lifestyle change, 100% in agreement. Exercise is so important to be in your life, in your schedule. It has to be a non-negotiable, I believe, for every single one of you that are watching us. And I'm sure we hit on a couple of these, but you have 6 tenets that you talk about in your book. Did we hit on a few of them?
Yeah, let's hit on one that's probably my most favorite, and that is, and there. So here it is. There is a way to get what you want, whatever that thing is. There is a way to get what you want, but it's new and different than what you're doing now, right? So because it's new and different, it becomes uncomfortable, and a lot of people just don't do that. You know, life will teach you lessons, right? And the lessons will hurt, and you'll know you've learned the lessons when you actually start changing your actions. I guess the most real world example that I also have been guilty of is, I don't know, have you ever lost your keys, Sean?
Oh, yes, yes.
So I don't know about you.
Horrible experience.
I don't know about you, but for me, when I lose my keys, I tend to look in the same cupboard drawer like 5 times, underneath the same mattress another 2 or 3 times, right? In the same room. And I'm going through this sort of spiral. And if you think about what I'm doing, right? I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? Expecting a different answer. And not only am I doing a disservice, but I'm also putting myself in a loop where I'm getting bad information. But the idea is that that's what sometimes you need an outside voice for, or an accountability coach, or something like that, right? Because, you know, oftentimes you don't see your own blind spots. You know, someone told me this a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. And she said to me, Bobby, you can't read the label from inside the jar. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, imagine yourself super tiny in a jar. Now look up and try to read the label. You can't read the label, can you? It's upside down, it's backwards, you know, and to her point is that you don't see those distinctions when you're in the middle of it. So, you know, and we all have people that we can count on for stuff like that, hopefully. Though sometimes, you know, we have people that kind of make it okay, you know, with softener statements. Oh, Bobby, why are you working so hard? Oh, Sean, why are you worried about that? You're doing great. You know? And oftentimes when they're trying to protect us, you know, they're actually squashing our fire a little bit, in my humble opinion.
No, I definitely agree with you. And before we went live, you were talking about some value that you wanted to bring to the community that are watching today and even on the replay. And guys that are with us, please hit the share button, drop a comment as Carlos did, hit the wow button for us. And any questions you might have, we'll get back to them after this live. But what was some of the things you wanted to share with those that are watching and on the replay?
Yeah. So as you know, I'm a coach, and I am actually in a position where I'm able to do free workshops for business owners, business leaders, entrepreneurs with teams of 3 or more. And we used to do these in the offices, but now with this new situation, we're doing these virtually. So to get your team together, and the beauty part is that you and I, meaning me and the leader, owner, broker, whatever it is, would get together and we would customize the presentation, customize the workshop, for what is going to resonate best with your people. So it could be time management. It could be just asking the right questions and bringing the sale closer to resolution, right? Sooner rather than later. Or it could be just life work balance, or it could be just making a first impression, which by the way is made in the first 7 seconds, either on the phone or in person. So these are some of the topics that I'm qualified to speak on, but I send you a list of topics that I'm qualified to speak on. We pick 1 or 2 or 3, because I can't cover them all in 45 minutes to an hour. And then we just kind of do something similar to this. But imagine the last one I did was for a State Farm, and there was like 8 of us. And then the one before that was a real estate company, Remax, and there was like 12, 15 people. So you're looking at 12, 15 faces. And there's a lot of energy, and it's super, super cool. And people get a lot out of it. So a free immediate results workshop. Is it okay if I give people my cell phone number? Is that all right?
100%. Whatever you would like them to get in contact with, please share.
So my cell phone number, and you just want to send me a text here and let me know, Sean, number 1, right? And then free workshop. And then, of course, your name. So my cell phone number is 609-915-2277. So 609-915-2277. That's the first one. Give me a shout. Let me know that, you found out about this through Sean's group, because this is ordinarily, a paid thing. But for Sean's people, this is going to be a freebie. And then, your name, so I know who I'm talking to when I call you back. Fair enough?
Perfect. That's excellent. Is there any final thoughts you would like to share with those that are out there today and on the replay?
Guys, care for each other, look out for each other, be magnanimous, be grateful, and make sure that, you make a difference, in someone else's life, and, certainly starting with your family, but then going on beyond that. But thank you so much for allowing me to meet your group.
This is awesome. I want to remind some people real quick, if you guys need anything, don't forget to go to connectionmachine.biz. On this page, anything you're looking for, if you need a mortgage, refinance, you need a purchase, you need a real estate agent, anything, solar, it's all here. I have a lot of collaborations and connections. You want to see some future past video collaborations I've done. You want to see my mentoring program. We have the store, but also we have the events coming up. I'm hoping to set something up in the next couple months. So please stay with us. If you need anything, insurance quotes, they're all here. And again, we all appreciate you taking some time and being with us. And we hope that you take and implement some of the strategies, some of the tips that we shared. And we hope that you all have an awesome day.